Alberta, Canada, that's about to start, and they are outmaneuvering him and checkmating him in some of the most incredible ways. Let me show you what's going down. You have French President Emmanuel Macron in Greenland. You know how Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talk about conquering Greenland and they're going to take it over or they're going to buy it. French President Emmanuel Macron, right before seeing Donald Trump at the G7, Macron went to Greenland on Sunday and saying, we, the French people, the European Union, and the free world, we respect your sovereignty. And it was such a powerful message directed at Donald Trump. You had French President Emmanuel Macron, you had the Prime Minister of Greenland, the newly elected PM, and you had the Prime Minister of Denmark, all standing together. European unity in Greenland. Macron warmly welcomed in Greenland by Greenlandic Prime Minister Nielsen, the Danish Prime Minister. The three leaders had important discussions on Arctic security, economic development, and climate change, and sovereignty. That was posted by the Denmark Foreign Affairs Ministry. French President Emmanuel Macron delivered this incredible speech, and then he posted on social media, Greenland is not to be sold. Here, play this clip.
Let me tell you that being here with you at invitation of your authorities is for us the occasion to convey a very clear message of French and European solidarity towards Denmark, Greenland, and people of Greenland. A message of respect for your sovereignty and respect for your choices. Choice of security, economic and social development, sustainable monitoring of your natural resources. A message of support for your territorial integrity, your borders. In a few words, everybody think in France, in the European Union, that Greenland is not to be sold, not to be taken.
And you can see French President Emmanuel Macron was warmly greeted by people in Greenland. Unlike Donald Trump, they were holding the European Union flag. Greenland is on the front lines of climate change. Here, the glaciers bear witness. They remind us of the urgency of action. We must continue and build on the momentum started in Paris 10 years ago and at the Nice Oceanic Conference. Here, French President Emmanuel Macron posted this video right here. Let's play it.
Greenland is the center of climate change due to the ice cap. It's melting rapidly, and it's affecting the whole world with the rise of the seas. So I think it's very, very important to put more focus on this. We have to keep working to stop the climate changes.
He also said the following, "It is a great honor to make this visit to Greenland, the first by a French president. Thank you to the Greenlandic Prime Minister Nielsen and the Danish Prime Minister for their invitation. At the heart of our discussion, security in the North Atlantic and the Arctic, climate change, the energy transition, and critical minerals. Together we will deepen our cooperation with Greenland in these areas and contribute to strengthening European sovereignty." Orla Jolson posted the following of President Macron and the Prime Minister of Denmark and the Prime Minister of Greenland going on board a military helicopter together where they were flying to Nuuk to see the ice sheet. Take a look at them right there. Play this clip. And you can see in the background here the French nuclear football scene in Nuuk, Greenland today, shadowing Macron. Here in this speech, you can see how warmly Macron was greeted in Greenland, unlike Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who the Greenlandic people did not even want to show up. Macron was saying that France is opening up a new consulate in Greenland, getting huge cheers and applause. Got huge cheers and applause when he talked about France's support of Greenland. He never mentioned Trump annexation. He didn't have to, because it was clear with what he was saying that that would never happen, that France had his back. Here, watch this clip.
In a few words, everybody think in France, in the European Union, that Greenland is not to be sold, not to be taken. We had very fruitful exchanges with...
And you can see French President Emmanuel Macron on his way to that press conference down in Old Town Nuuk in Greenland. Orla Jolson, another great video posted right here. Play this clip. You see over here in Greenland, French President Emmanuel Macron and the Danish Prime Minister over there greeting some of the military who's out there in Greenland. We'll play this video as, again, a warm military reception there as well. Here, play this clip. Now, while that was going on, you had President Zelenskyy of Ukraine sending a strong message to Donald Trump ahead of the G7. Remember, Donald Trump posted right before his humiliating and disastrous dictator parade that Vladimir Putin had called him, that it was a great conversation with Putin. Remember, Donald Trump said that. And Donald Trump said that he was getting advice from Putin about Iran. Then the Department of Defense in the United States posted an image on Flag Day that included the Russian flag instead of the American flag. It's ridiculous. So then Zelenskyy posts the following. Today, the Russians launched a stone-cold combined attack on our energy infrastructure. This is a spit in the face of everything the international community is trying to do to stop this war. It happened right after Putin's conversation with Trump, after the Americans asked us not to strike the Russian energy facilities, at the same time as Putin tries to portray himself as a mediator for the Middle East and attempts to somehow assist his accomplices in Tehran. The level of cynicism is staggering. Zelensky's going right for Trump right there. Let's not mince words about what's going on. He goes on to say, this war would have ended long ago if the world had reacted with principle and refused to fall for Russian propaganda. I thank everybody in the world who now pushes for the necessary sanctions against Russian oil and proper price cap, one that actually hurts the Russian budget. Without that, Putin will continue to ignore everything the world is doing to bring peace. He doesn't personally need peace. He himself is the war. Only a real cash shortage can convince Russia to be less dangerous to its neighbors.
The older I get, the more I find myself wanting to be more intentional about the way I live, eat, and take care of my body. That's why I'm so happy I found Mosh. Mosh, which you may have heard about on Shark Tank, was founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a simple mission: to create a conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. Maria's father suffered from Alzheimer's, and since then, she and Patrick have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families dealing with this debilitating disease. Mosh joined forces with the world's top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar. With 8 delicious flavors, including a plant-based one in peanut butter and chocolate, each Mosh bar is made with ingredients that support brain health like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. And now Mosh bars come with a new look and new formulation, featuring a game-changing brain-boosting ingredient that you won't find in any other bar. Mosh is now the first and only food brand boosted with Cognizant, a premium nootropic that supplies the brain with a patent form of citicoline. But here's the best part: to make you feel good, Mosh donates a portion of all proceeds from your order to fund gender-based brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Why gender-based? Because 2/3 of all Alzheimer's patients are women. MOSH is working closely to close the gap between women and men's health research. Personally, I love the taste of my MOSH bars. My favorite is the peanut butter crunch, which I have each morning before I head off to the gym. Now, if you want to find ways to give back to others and fuel your body and your brain, MOSH bars are the perfect choice for you. Head to moshlife.com/Meidas to save 20% off plus free shipping on the bestseller trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on the bestsellers trial pack at moshlife.com/Meidas. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode.
Meanwhile, you had Anthony Albanese of Australia meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. You had Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada meeting with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer. See, they're all meeting before Trump even shows up, which you would not normally see that happen. But now with Trump being so dangerous, they all have to, and reckless and weak, they all have to coordinate before Trump arrives. That's why they are doing that. Now, one of the things that Anthony Albanese is very much focused on in his trip is he needs to focus on the AUKUS, the Australia, United Kingdom, U.S. trilateral agreement and security defense, because now it's being reported that Trump has put somebody in power at the Defense Department to review the trilateral agreement between the UK, Australia, and the US, the AUKUS agreement, to basically not provide Australia with the needed material and with the needed military support. So Anthony Albanese now has to go and kind of speak to Donald Trump like, what the hell are you even doing in Australia right now? Here's Anthony Albanese confirming that he's going to have a face-to-face with Trump. Play this clip.
We do have a meeting scheduled. Obviously, there are issues that the US president is dealing with at the moment, but I expect that we will be able to have a constructive engagement as well, and I look forward to building on the very constructive phone conversations that we've had on the 3 occasions that we've had the opportunity to talk.
But let's not forget that when Donald Trump met with Keir Starmer, Donald Trump didn't even know what AUKUS was. Here, play this clip.
Were you discussing AUKUS with the Australians and the Brits? Were you discussing AUKUS with the Prime Minister, sir?
What does that mean?
AUKUS, the Australia-US Defence Alliance.
Yeah, well, we'll be discussing that. We've had another great relationship, and you have too, with Australia.
Yeah.
We've had a very good relationship with Australia, please.
Mr. President.
One of the things that Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, Labour Party, which is their left-centre party in Australia, was also very upset about was the Australia reporter who was shot by rubber bullets by United States police, with Trump escalating the issues with the ICE raids. Here's what Albanese had to say about that.
Okay, she's pretty resilient, I've got to say, but that footage was horrific. That was the footage of an Australian journalist doing what journalists do at their very best. We have already raised these issues with the US administration. We don't find it acceptable that it occurred, and we think the role of the media is particularly important.
Now, you also had, these are very important. I want you to watch them because, you know, with all of these horrible Trump Oval Office press conferences that I show you, I want to remind you of what normal alliances look like and what conversations are, how they're supposed to look, not in weird, as Charlie Angus puts it, like fake golden bordello that's become the Oval Office where the sexual predator resides. Here, in contrast, you have British Prime Minister Keir Starmer yesterday meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney. And notice what they're talking about. The sovereignty. Their first bilateral meeting is together between the UK and Canada, not the US. And their language is all just kind of subtly directed at Trump. Here, play this clip.
It is a great pleasure, and I think entirely appropriate, that my first official bilateral in Canada with a head of government is with Prime Minister Starmer. Canada and the United Kingdom, of course, share history, We share values, we share governance. We are in a parliament inspired by the Westminster tradition, but it's much, much more than heritage. This is a foundation of prosperity for all our citizens going forward, and a prosperity based on those shared values expressed through the future: artificial intelligence, critical minerals, new partnerships in security and defense, but all in the pursuit of sustainable prosperity for our citizens. And if I may, just on a personal level, I've learned a lot from the Prime Minister over the years. I've been a great admirer of his and the values that he's bringing to bear to his government and to internationally, particularly as we go to Kananaskis for the G7, are those that we will be promoting.
Well, it's a real honour and a privilege, Prime Minister Mark, my friend, to be the first of your bilateral visits. And we've known each other for a number of years, and that mutual respect, I think, has been at the cornerstone of our relationship. And I think I'm right in saying it's the first time a British Prime Minister has been here since 2018 for a bilateral visit. So I'm very pleased to be able to be here for that. The history and joint working of our countries is phenomenal. For years we've worked together as Commonwealth members, as independent, democratic, sovereign countries working alongside each other on issues of security, defence, trade, the economy, you name it. And we think alike, we work alike. And I think that's not just a reflection on the past, I think it is very much needed in the here and now, and how I think we can forge our future together as we go forward from here. It is particularly timely with the G7 because it is the opportunity under your leadership at this G7 for us to work with our colleagues and other leaders on the most important issues of the day. Obviously, the conflict with Israel and Iran is centerpiece, and this provides the opportunity to talk to our co-leaders about the fast-moving situation and to make our strong case together that there must be de-escalation of this conflict in the interests of the region and of course the world. And so I look forward to working with you, not just in this bilateral where we'll have the opportunity to discuss the opportunities and challenges for our two countries as we go forward. I was so pleased to see His Majesty the King here opening your Parliament. That was a real piece of history. And we get the opportunity now to discuss so many issues here today. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Thank you all.
And similar, here's when Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, meets with Prime Minister Carney. Here, play this clip.
Well, first, may I say, Prime Minister, welcome. Welcome, and thank you for coming for the G7. Canada and Australia, of course, great partners, share the same values, share many of the same interests in defense, security, partnership, reinforced actually by yourself and myself through the over-the-horizon radar. More broadly on the economic side, we bring a lot of what the G7 needs, I think, critical minerals and beyond. But also, I just want to say, maybe on a bit more of a personal note, or bring it down, Australia has been very helpful to Canada through the years, and most recently with the terrible wildfires that have been raging across our northern prairies. And once again, as Australians always do, and you always do, have stepped up. So, bienvenue au Canada. That's a great pleasure to see.
Well, thank you so much, Prime Minister, and thank you so much for the invitation for Australia to be here as a participant at the G7 meeting, but also to have bilateral discussions. We do have so much in common. We have very similar economies historically. We share a vast continent.
That's right.
Very vast.
You get your own continent.
We get our own continent, but we're similar landmass and some similar history, some shared history as well. And I look forward to strengthening our defence relationship. I think it's quite exciting. Our over the horizon development that we've been able to develop in Australia, but also there's a range of areas in which we can cooperate. I know critical minerals will be a discussion over the coming days, but also we share personal relations as well with Australian firefighters are here, just like Canadian firefighters who I've met in Australia have performed such a vital role because our seasons are different. We know that climate change is meaning that those seasons are growing, unfortunately, but we have cooperated in a way that is seamless as well, and you can always rely upon Australia. I know that our Australian firefighters are really proud of the effort that they've been able to make, including during the wildfires which you are experiencing.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can we get a handshake, sir? Just need that.
Oh, yes, yes, of course.
Thank you.
And again, the subtext there is Trump, Trump, Trump. How is the free world rebuilding without the United States? With the United States basically being a Putin puppet at this point, which is disgraceful. But that's the situation of what the United States has become at this point. Weak and pathetic under Donald Trump. But I'll tell you, the No Kings protest gave me a lot of hope. And I know for our international watchers, I know it gave you a lot of hope to show what America was really all about again. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers this week.
New Midas merch drop! Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.